everyone, welcome back. I'm Kayla, and today I am going to do a book review. And I just finished this book last night. I wanted to read it and finish it before June 5th, but that did not happen because it was like officially released, I think, on the 5th. This is the one that Goodreads had done a giveaway, and I'll link that video in the description box below. Yeah, so that was this book, and I had wanted to like get this done and like have a video. I wanted to have like a video out before it was officially released, and that did not happen. Also, I apologize if there's like light coming this way. I don't have curtains in my office because I haven't been able to, I just haven't bought them yet. I wanted to finish this book so that I could like do a video on it and like a review and everything like that, like right in time for it to come out. But I just finished it, and I mean, it's not too late. It's, what is today? I don't even know. It is the 18th. Okay, so it's June 18th. So at least we're in the same month. So yeah, okay, so that book I'm talking about is The Body in the Castle Well by Martin Walker. This book, this is a Bruno Chief of Police novel. Apparently this is number 12 in like a series. So this guy, Martin Walker, who I had never heard of before I got this book, he's written a lot of books. Like, he is, you know, he's got a lot of writing experience, and it shows. Like, it totally shows. Like, this is also by Martin Walker. You know, that page. I don't know if you can see that. And it shows like his fiction and his nonfiction. So he's written a lot. So that's cool. So yeah, so this is a mystery novel. It is about a young American art student who she's working with the Louvre and stuff like that, and she is going to this town called, it's like a few different towns. Sometimes I'm probably going to butcher all the names and everything because this is all takes place in France, and there's like lots of French cities and names and stuff, so I don't know a lick of French. So, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my best guesstimation. This area is like, they call it Périgord, like the Périgord area, Limoux. There's some other, so I mean, it's like, it seems like a little country, you know, area, small knit but beautiful. And she was going there specifically to study with this well-known art like historian, collector, whatever, and she was going there to study and like further her studies and everything like that. Well, pretty early on in the book, you know, spoilers spoilers if you don't want to read this. That's what usually my book reviews and my book talks and stuff, they're full of spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, well, I'll do like a quick review before, so that it's like spoiler free, and then I'll get into the book. That way you can at least have an idea. So shortly after she arrives and kind of is there and everything like that, a body turns up in the castle well. So there's like this castle where events take place and stuff like that, and this body was found. And Bruno is our protagonist, and he is a detective, and he's a bunch of things. Like, he does a lot of stuff. He lives there, and he's, you know, working on this case. And so throughout the book, you kind of like see this progression of him, you know, trying to figure out, was this an accident? Was this on purpose? If it was, who could have thought, you know, who could have had any motive, and just like all this stuff. So it's very much like your classic mystery novel. So I gave this 3 stars because the thing is it's not a bad book. It's just one of those things where it might not necessarily be for me. The reason why I gave it a 3, and from here on out there'll probably be spoilers. So I gave it a 3 because I felt like plot-wise and like the actual mystery and the actual murder, it wasn't that surprising. It wasn't that shocking. It didn't feel like it flowed all throughout the novel. Like, it felt like it was heavily focused on in the beginning and then heavily focused on in the end. But there was a middle where it was kind of not about that. So that's one reason. And I feel like there was another reason, but I can't remember at the top of my head. Well, mysteries aren't usually my thing, especially like run-of-the-mill mysteries, like very Agatha Christie mysteries. But this was good, and I'll tell you what I did like about it. So what I did like about this book was the setting and the characters. So this takes place in France, and with all of these different characters and they're all so unique and different. And it was really cool, like, being in this world and, like, spending time, you know, in this little town in France with all these people, and to kind of, like, see their culture. There was a lot of, like, food references, food descriptions, cooking, all kinds of stuff, a lot about wine. So very, like, I don't want to say stereotypical aspects of what you think of when you think of, like, France and people in France, but they're, at least to me, they're very well known for their wine and their food, you know, and that did play a big, like, it's important to these characters. So that was really cool. That was fascinating. I did like the kind of going along with Bruno and, like, his day-to-day, just seeing his relationships with characters, because I knew from the beginning that this is a book in a series, but it's also, I think it's meant as a standalone too, because I have not read a single book by him, and I'm just jumping in on book number 12, and I never felt, like, lost. I never felt like, dang, I wish I had read previous books because I don't know what's going on. Like, no, he does very good at, like, letting you know who these characters are, kind of like how he knew them in the past. So I know there's a lot of alliterations to past books and stuff like that, which is totally understandable, and which is kind of cool. But so I kind of have an idea of what some of his other books might have been about, but I wasn't lost. I could easily follow along, so that was good. I liked that. Yeah, so that's kind of what I liked about the book. I enjoyed the ambiance, because it wasn't, even though it's a mystery, it wasn't like a dark mystery. It felt very lighthearted. I felt like I learned more about this culture. It was a really good telling of the culture and the people and stuff like that. So that is what I really liked about the book. So I enjoyed this. It wasn't, and that's the other thing too, is it wasn't boring. I wouldn't call it like a page turner, but it was, like, I found that every time I picked it back up, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Because, like, I've read this book in little tiny spurts every day, and every time I picked it up, it was, like, nice, you know, and then when I had to put it down, I was kind of sad to put it down. I was like, no, I want to keep reading. So it's definitely a good book. I just think that it probably wasn't 100% for me, you know, and so that's why I gave it a 3, but it really is that doesn't really have any bearing on whether this is a good book or not. Like, I feel like the writing was really beautiful. I love the description. Very good writing. The only thing I have, the only criticism I have about the writing was that, to me, it felt like the whole murder investigation wasn't as smoothly carried out throughout the book. I felt, like I said, it felt like it was heavily focused on in the beginning and at the end, but in the middle, it felt like it kind of took a back seat, and it was more about, like, Bruno's life and kind of the stuff that's going on. But that wasn't, like, unpleasant for me. I liked that, but it was kind of like, I remember reaching a certain point in this book where we were like, oh, like, we're back on the murder case, you know, but so yeah, so that's kind of what the book is about. Oh, and the other thing, so one other thing I noticed, and I mean, I'm no book expert, but this is just something I kind of noticed. I felt like there were several times where I felt like there were passages and stuff that absolutely could have been cut out. Like, I feel like I found some chunks in here that absolutely had nothing to do with the story, did not propel it forward. It was just kind of like, just added in there. You know, I personally liked those things because I like the ambiance it created and stuff like that, but as far as, like, it being essential to the plot or, like, characters and, like, moving them forward, I didn't really, there were some things where I'm just like, this isn't necessary. but I liked it. So I noticed something else that I feel like amateurs do, but he's not an amateur. But I don't know if that's just me. I don't know, amateur sounds so mean, but I feel like it's something I do when I write, because I'm not an experienced writer at all. But, like, I feel like he has the urge to show us as the reader how he gets from all of the places that he gets to. So, like, let's say he's in a car and he is driving to somewhere to see somebody, and he figures out something, he talks to them, maybe it's something about the murder, and then, you know, the next scene, probably the next important scene is probably later that evening when he's talking to the mayor, right? But instead of just kind of like transitioning very easily to that, he'll kind of like lead you through his day. Like it's almost kind of like a journal, kind of like, you know, well, you know, first I went and I picked up the car, and then I drove, well, first I got some croissants, and I went riding with my horse, and it just like, he kind of like just tells you his day and like how he gets from point A to point B, and it's like, that's not necessarily the story. Like one part of the story, he has to rent a van or something, and he lets us know later that like before he went somewhere else, he returned the van, and then he went to that place. And I'm thinking, if you had just gone to that place, I kind of would have inferred that you returned it, or, you know, I don't know if I'm being clear, but so there was just little things like that I feel like I do, because I'm a very amateurish writer, where I feel like I need to lead the reader very clearly everywhere and kind of wrap up all the loose ends, and it's just, it feels unnecessary. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but so I felt like that happened sometimes. It didn't happen all the time. And then the other thing was that I got lost a lot. The other bad thing was, and I was getting lost, and I think it was because there were so many different characters, so many different generations. It was kind of a complicated familial like lineage that I had to kind of follow, and not just that, but there's like a lot of French names, so I was getting confused with like places, people, like groups of people. Like I just, and I think that might be a lot of just like my natural ignorance of France and that culture and everything like that. So I think that was kind of on me. It's not too essential to the story if you're not like hardcore, because there's a lot of facts in here. That's the other thing I liked about this. And also, no, this is what I liked about it, was that there's a lot of history. So like, that's kind of the cool part, is that there are so many parts where you get so much real interesting snippets of history, and I'm pretty sure it's all true, like it's all accurate. Maybe the characters, you know, like, oh, this character, you know, killed somebody in the resistance, like maybe that specific character or person did not exist, but like the resistance did, the whatever. So there's lots of history, which is really cool. So I got like lots of cool little nuggets sprinkled throughout the book. You can tell that this writer loves history. There's a lot of history kind of like wrapped up in the story itself, so that's kind of cool. So that's what I liked about it. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad book. If you're into this kind of thing, and if you just, even though I said it's complicated, it's a real simple read. Like I feel like this is a perfect like vacation read or a beach read where you don't have to like hardcore focus and be like super emotionally invested. Sometimes you kind of just want to be lost in a world and kind of just, you know, go along. This is a pretty lighthearted mystery, I would call. There are dark times, but it's not, it's very beautiful. Like I just have this very like beautiful like memory of reading this. Like it's, everything is described beautifully and everything. So so it reminds me of that, like a very beach read, just a very simple read where you don't want to invest too much emotion and brain power and stuff like that. So it's definitely good. I might want to check out some of his other stuff. I don't know if I want to read his fiction, because I think he largely writes mysteries, but I'm kind of curious with his nonfiction, because he's pretty good at storytelling history. So his nonfiction is the Iraq War, which I probably will totally check out, because even though I lived through this war, which might still be going on, I never know for sure. There's so much that I don't know and understand, so that would be good to know. Europe in the 21st century, America Reborn, The President They Deserve, The Cold War, A History, Martin Walker's Russia. What? That's interesting. The Waking Giant, Gorbachev and Perestroika, Powers of the Press, and the National Front. I definitely want to look at the Iraq War. So, I mean, he definitely has some nonfiction that I'm interested in, so I might read him, but I definitely recommend him to anybody that wants a, like, very run-of-the-mill mystery, you know, like I said, a good read, easy read, especially if you want to be engrossed in another culture, another place. It's present time, but it's very different there, because, like, I'm an American. I've lived in America my whole life. I've never lived in another country. And it was cool to see, like, French culture. And it really is, it's different from what I think American culture is generally like. Like, I feel like they're much nicer, they're much sweeter, they're much more polite and thoughtful of each other. Like, food and wine are huge. You have to, like, it's like a big thing that they like schedule their lives around, you know? So I mean, it's a very, and maybe that was just this one specific town, I'm not sure. I haven't read a whole lot about France and like French culture, but that's kind of the ambiance I got. So it was cool. You know, I feel like I learned a lot, especially history-wise. And yeah, so that's The Body in the Castle Well. Anyways, so yeah, that's the book. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And let me know if you've read anything by Martin Walker or have any other mysteries. Because, like, I like a good mystery, but I feel like I don't always find them that easily. So if you have any recommendations or any comments about anything, let me know. I'm always interested in hearing. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. But wait, are they up there? No. If they are, I'm gonna be so shitty. Anyways, is a Bruno Chief of Police novel. What? I'm sorry if you hear my dog.